Hello and welcome. Today I am going to play Blitzkrieg 1939 Guderian, and from this game comes a scenario about the Battle of Wizna. A battle that became one of the symbols of Polish stiff and fierce resistance against the German invasion at 1939. Roughly about 700 of Polish soldiers defended their positions there against the entire armored corps. Polish position was about to be defended by the strengthened battalion, but before the battle began, most of this battalion was moved out of this position. So Poles were weakened even before the battle began. Even so, they put a very stiff and strong resistance. Germans suffered some losses while trying to break through these positions, and finally General Heinz Guderian told Polish commander that if he won't surrender, then he will execute some of his prisoners. That, along with overwhelming advantage of German artillery and air force, made Poles to finally surrender, but their commander, Captain Ragnis, killed himself with a grenade because before the battle began he swore that he will not give his positions alive. So this is the history, and here we come with a game. There are three scenarios about this battle in this game. First one covers a fight at 8th of September. Second scenario covers the other 2 days of fights, and these two scenarios can be played together one after another as one big scenario, or they can be played separately as standalone scenarios. There is one more scenario that allows player to check if Polish army would be able to keep the Wizna position if Polish units would be there with their full strength. But this is kinda alternative history scenario, and here we have a setup for the first historical scenario about the fights at 8th of September. As for this scenario, Poles are on their historical positions. All the bridges here on the rivers of Narew and Biebrzα are destroyed, and a German player starts with only a limited number of his units. He has a reconnaissance unit of the 10th Armored Division, one infantry battalion of the border brigade, and 20 strength points from the 10th Armored Division. He can choose all by himself whatever he likes. Also, he has one unit of air support with a ground attack aircraft with 5 strength points. So that's what we get, and in this scenario each player gains 1 victory point for each strength point of the enemy units. So this is quite an easy thing, and a Polish player has one minefield to place. When you play against another human player, you can place this minefield anywhere, note the number of the hex, and it is revealed when the enemy unit enters such a hex. But when you play alone, just like I am doing here, you might find it a bit problematic. So my idea is that every time a German unit enters a new hex, I am making a roll. If I will roll 4, 5 or 6, then the minefield appears. There is only one minefield in this game, so it should be quite fast. Okay, so that's all, and now I am going to start the game. German player has an initiative in this battle. I think it's quite easy to guess, so German units are going to move first. This battle, like all the battles in this game, uses battles of World War II 1942-1945 system, which is probably the older and most complicated Polish wargame system ever made. It was created for the first time in the late, or maybe even at the half of the 90s, and so far 4 editions of this system were released with a lot of games. It is a company battalion scale system, and like I said, there is a lot of rules in this system, but we don't use all of them. Some of them are only for airborne actions, for naval landings, for Pacific War Theater, and so on. So we will use only a couple of them for this battle. So we are starting with the turn 1 of the day 1. Each day has 3 turns in this system. 1 or 2 are daily turns, and third one is night turn. So we are starting with air phase of the player A, and we have 1 air unit to place on the board. There are no enemy anti-air artillery, no enemy fighters, so we can just place this air ground attack air counter on the board and nothing happens. Next we have airborne assault phase, nothing like that because we don't care about airborne actions. Next we have artillery barrage phase, again nothing because only games where barrages are allowed can use it. Next we have naval landing phase, no stuff like that here. Finally we have a movement phase, so now German player might move his units. Okay, now we have a turn 3, and turn 3 of each day is a night turn. Night turn comes with a lot of limitations, and the major thing is you don't want to attack in the night turn if you really don't have to. So let's go to the German movement phase, and I will spend all my movement points to fortify myself, and if I fortify myself, then I don't have to attack enemy units, and that's what I'm going to do. These guys will also fortify themselves, or maybe not, maybe them will fortify themselves and they will move here. Because in the night turn you can only move on the adjacent hex or spend 2 movement points if you are somewhere on the roads or so like that. But you can also, if you are not allowed to move further with a road, you can only move on the adjacent hex. So I am moving here, and that's all. I'm not going to attack in this turn. And next we go into the poles, and well, they don't do much either. They are just holding their positions, and this concludes turn 3. So the day 1 is gone. Let's check the victory points for this day. So Germans lost 1, 2, 3 strength points, while Poles lost none. So Poles are victorious when it comes to this scenario. I mean this scenario, but not this session, because I think it might make more sense if I would play second scenario linked together with this one. So the game will be much more interesting. Alright, let's start with the German movement phase. 1, and now I have to make a roll for minefield. Nothing. 2. Oh, minefield appeared. So there goes minefield, and now we have to check for possible losses. We will use the table for minefield losses, and our unit has 4 strength points, so we will use a verse of 3, 5, and now 1. Lucky them, no losses, but all in all they have to stop, because when unit enters a minefield it has to stop its movement, so unless it is a combat engineers unit, so this is not. And next we're going to make a move with these units, and what I'm going to do is to take these two battalions, battalion and tank company, and they are going to move together here, and their goal now is to make a combat in the march. Combat in the march is a special kind of combat that allows you to attack your enemy during the movement phase. So you can attack them, you can make them to retreat, and even if you are not allowed to move with the units that are made this attack, your other units might move and make good use of your combat. So this is something very good when you want to do something Blitzkrieg-alike. But it comes with certain limitations. First, you can only use a two-third of your strength. So this unit has 7 points, so now it has 5. This unit has 5 points, so it has 3. So we have 8. We have 8 against 1, so it's 8 to 1, and we have 9 to 1 because you can see that this tank has a star. And when you have a star, then you have 1 column shift, unless you are attacking into the forest, into the forts and so on, but nothing like that, so we get 9 to 1. And now we have 8 to 1 because there is a fortification, and now there is a river, and river, let me check in the terrain table, river is a half, sorry, -2. So it was 9 to 1, 8 to 1 because of the fortification, 7 to 1, 6 to 1 because of the river. So it's 6 to 1, let's make a roll, and it is 10. 10 in the 6 to 1. Let's check the combat results table. It is 6 to 1 and 10. It is B1. So defender has to retreat 1 hex. They retreat here, and now they can only move here. Even if this unit would retreat any further, they cannot pursue him because it was a river. And when you have a motorized or mechanized units that are making pursuit after combat, they can only enter 1 hex when they are crossing the river. So that's where they are moving. Okay, and next thing I am going to do is to move my combat engineers here. They will start rebuilding this bridge, so I will be able to cross it. And finally, my recon unit, along with hit quarter. How many strength points they have? Let me check. 4 and 1, so it would be 5. I will move them here. Oh no, sorry. They will stay here and it will move here. Okay, that's all for the movement phase. Next we have Polish counterattack phase. In this phase, Polish units that are not in the enemy zone of control might move 1 hex and attack enemy units. But we don't have any situation like that because all these units are in the enemy zone of control already, so they cannot move, and any other Polish units wouldn't be allowed to make a move and contact with any German units. So we can skip this phase and move right into the German combat phase. I have this ground attack air force that I will use here because this combat will be mostly important for me. And the next battle goes here. I will start here. I have 5 strength points against 1. So it's 5 to 1. It is 6 to 1 because of the column shift because of the star. So it's 6 to 1. 5 to 1 because of the fortification. 4 to 1 because of the town. 3 to 1, 2 to 1 because of the river. So it's 2 to 1. And the result is 9, which means nothing. Each side stay where it is. And now, oh, I forgot about one thing here. Remember when I made this combat in March? I forgot about calculating losses. So now I have to do it. But let's first do it here, to remember about everything. I had 5, so combat losses column, we have 5, plus 1 because I had a star, minus 1 because of the fortification, minus 1 because of the town, and minus 2, so we go to 1 because of the river. So it's 1 and 12. Wow! So Polish units suffer 1 point loss. It is 3rd platoon. Where it is? Oh, here. And now German losses. Poles had 1 strength point, plus 1 because of the fortification, plus 1 because of the town, plus 1 plus 2 because of the river, and minus 1 because of the star of the German unit. So it's 6, 10, and 7. No losses for German. That was lucky roll for Germans. And now these losses I forgot to count before. Germans had 8, so it was 6, 10. They had plus 1 because of the column shift of the star, and then minus 1 because of the fortification, minus 2 because of the river. So it's 2, 3. Oh. 8 in the 2, 3, it's nothing. And Poles had 1, plus 1 because of the fortification, plus 2 because of the river, and minus 1 because of the tank column shift, so it's 4, 5, 9 in the 4, 5. Germans should suffer 1 point loss. It is 289. Okay, so now I can finally check this combat. I have 5 strength points of my air unit support, and now these tanks are attacking into the woods because there is a wood, so their strength is halved. So they have 4, so it's 9, and now this infantry has 4, so it's 5 plus 4, it's 9, plus 4 is 13. So I have 13. 13 against 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, this artillery has 5 points of range. Sorry, 5 hexes of range. So I have, and it has 1 strength point. So I have 3. I have 13 against 3. It is 4 to 1. And I cannot use this column shift of tanks because this is woods, and I cannot use it against units in the woods. So I have 4 to 1, and then there is a fortification here, and fortification means minus 3. So it was 4 to 1. 3 to 1, 2 to 1, and 1 to 1, and there is a woods. We should also count, so it is minus 1, it is 1 to 2. Not a very good situation for Germans. Let's make a roll. Oh my! They made it. They have 3. 3 in the 1 to 2 is B1. Now, that was great. So Poles have to retreat, and the Germans are allowed to take their fortification. Wow, that was an extremely lucky situation. Judging on my previous gameplays, I usually stuck here for a turn or two before I was able to drive these Poles away of this first line of fortifications, but now I was lucky to drive them away quickly. Okay, so let's calculate the losses now. Germans had 13, so it's 11, 15, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3 because of fortification, and minus 1 because of the woods, so it's 1. No losses for Poles, and Poles had 1, plus 1 because of the woods, plus 1, plus 2, plus 3 because of the fortification it is 6, so Germans suffered only 1 strength point. Not that bad, I would say. At last I was able to drive the Poles away of this first line of fortifications. That's pretty impressive. Okay, so now we have to we did everything for the combat phase. So now we can go straight into the Polish movement phase. So what Poles are going to do? Now these units are in the swamp. Swamp is very nasty terrain. You cannot cross it when you have mechanized or motorized units. So only infantry units, so only leg units might move throughout the swamp. Other units might only move through the roads. So you can tell why Germans had so many problems with crossing this part of Poland. And next thing, you cannot fortify on the swamp. Normally, you can spend all your movement points and place a field fortification on such a hex, but not on the swamp. So that's pretty bad. And now, how many points do I have to spend for leg units for moving throughout the swamp? 2. Okay, so 1. They are moving down the road. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's all. They are going to stay where they are. And that's for Polish movement phase. Next we have German counterattack phase. I cannot counterattack anywhere, because during the counterattack phase you can only move your units 1 hex. So moving this stack here wouldn't allow me to attack anyone. They are already in the enemy zone of control, so they cannot counterattack, so nothing. And Polish combat phase, this unit is in the field fortification, and if unit is in the field fortification, it doesn't have to adjacent enemy units on the adjacent hexes. Otherwise it has to. But they don't have to, so we are fine. And this concludes turn 1 of the day 1, of course, because each day takes 3 turns, 2 daily turns and 1 night turn. Okay, we are going into turn 2, starting with air phase, so I can place this ground attack air force counter and straight into the German movement phase. I am starting with these combat engineers. They are moving here, spending all their movement points, and they are rebuilding this bridge. So my units will be able to move normally throughout this river. Next, this battalion goes 1, 2, 3, and this group rides 1, 2, and the question is if I want to attack from the march this time. No, I don't want to, because I will be attacking into the swamp, and attacking into the swamp halves your strength. So it would lower my strength drastically, especially if linked with combat from the march modifications. So I'm not going to do so. I will wait for the combat turn, and that's what I'm going to do. So that's the end of the German movement phase, and next we have Polish counterattack phase. I don't think Poles are about to do it anyway. Their units are just too weak. These were only a bunch of troops that were gathered around to defend these positions, and much weaker than they should be. Okay, so I am launching my first attack here. This unit has 5, this unit has 4, so it's 9, and this hit quarter has 1, so I have 10 to 1. 10 to 1, then I have for the river, how much it was for the river? 2, I believe it was 2, but I would like to check. Yes, it was 2. So 10 to 1, 9 to 1, 8 to 1 because of the river, 7 to 1 because of the fortification, 6 to 1 because of the town. So it's 6 to 1, and it's 5. 5 in the 6 to 1 is B2. So defender has to retreat 2 hexes. 1, 2, and since I am crossing the river, I can only move here. And now the losses. Germans had 10 strength points, so it's 6-10. 1 because of the town, 1 because of the fortification, and 1 and 2 because of the river, so it would be 1. So let's make a roll. It is 12. Wow! So Polish unit suffers one step loss. It is third platoon, so I need to take and the third platoon suffers 1 more loss, so they are eliminated. Amazing. Okay, so we were very lucky with these 2. Okay, so this was and now we have to roll for German losses as well. Polish unit has 1, plus 1 because of the fortification, plus 1 because of the town, plus 2, plus 3 because of the river, so it's 11, 15, and 4, it is 1. So Germans suffer 1 strength point as well. It's 3 of 161 regiment. Okay, they suffer 1 strength point loss. And now the second battle goes here. I will use my air force again. Okay, Poles had 1, 2 and 3 for artillery, and Germans had 4, so it's 2, and 7, so it's 3, so it's 4. So we have 6 plus 5, it is 11. 11 against 3, it is 4 to 1. And no other modifiers. So it's 4 to 1, and it is 5. 4 to 1 in 5, it is B2. So defender has to retreat 2 hexes. 1, 2, 1, 2. And Germans can only move here because they are mechanized and motorized units, so they cannot pursue it throughout the swamp hexes. So that's all. And now let's calculate the losses. Germans had 11, 15. It is 7, so 1 strength point loss for Poles. And now German losses. Poles had 2, 3. So sorry, they had 3, so it's 2 and 3. 11. 1 strength point loss for Germans. Okay, and that's all for the German combat. Now Poles, we can move them, and I would like to. So I will move this platoon here, and I think that's all I can do. Yes, that's all I can do. I'm not going to attack anywhere. And but first we have German counterattack phase, and I am thinking of trying counterattack here. Yes, I will try. This might be a risky thing, but I think if I will be able to drive these Poles away of this fortification, then I will be very lucky. So let's try to do it. So I have 4, 5, and sorry, not. This is heavy machine gun units. So all our leg units have their strength halved. So we have 2, 3, and 4. So we have 7 to 1. And now 6 to 1, 5 to 1 and 4 to 1 because of the fortification, 2 to 1, sorry again, we have 2, 3 and 4, so it's 7, and 7 to 1, 6 to 1 because of the woods, 5 to 1, 4 to 1, 3 to 1 because of the fortification, so it's 3 to 1. Let's make a roll, and it is 9. 9 in the 3 to 1. It is B1. Oh, that was close. Because if I would roll 10, it would be nothing. So Poles are retreating. Germans are keeping these fortifications. Well, Germans have luck with good rolls. Okay, and now let's calculate the losses. Germans had 6-10. -1, -2, -3 because of fortification, so it's 1. No losses for Poles, and Poles had 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 11, 15, and it's 7. Only 1 point loss for Germans. Nothing critical, I would say. Okay, and now we have Polish combat phase. So Poles are not going to attack anywhere. So that's all when it comes to the turn 2. It was quite a good turn for Germans. They made a significant progress, and I think they are doing quite fine. And next turn is a night turn. Each day has 2 daily turns and 1 night turn. And in the night turn, you don't wanna do much. Well, especially because in the night turn you can only move 1 hex or 2 movement points if you are on the road or something like this. And when you are attacking the enemy, your strength is always halved. So what I'm going to do, I am moving here because it is not allowed to fortify yourself on the swamp, and I don't want to attack these Poles with my strength halved. Next, I am moving these combat engineers. 1, 2. They are motorized unit, and they are moving down the road, so they can move here. As for these units, I am going to fortify themselves. I'm not going to attack these Polish heavy machine guns. And that's all for Germans in this turn. And now for Poles, I will fortify these heavy machine guns, and that would be everything. And that's all for the first day of the combat. As you can see, Germans made it quite nicely. And this would be the end of the scenario 1, but I think it will be more fun if I will join this scenario with the next scenario and play 2 more days of the combat. I hope it will be much more interesting, but let's calculate the victory points for this particular scenario. Germans lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, and Poles lost 1, 2, 3. So, when it comes to the victory points, Poles remain victorious. But I think Germans are doing very well because they captured first line of the Polish fortifications. Of course, it won't be easy to capture these fortifications because there is a swamp all over, so German units will have a problem to make a movement here. But I think Germans are not doing quite bad, and they have 2 more days to finish this battle. Let's carry on with the second day of battle, and as you can see, we're going to use much stronger forces because we get all the units of the 10th Armored Division now. So this means a lot of artillery, more tanks, some motorized infantry, and some infantry from the Lotsen brigade. And this infantry might be quite useful for us because apart from mechanized or motorized units, it can move throughout the swamp. So maybe we will be able to make some good use of it. Next, Let's start with the air phase, and I am placing this Air Force marker here. Maybe I should move my camera to show everything. Yes, that should be fine. And let's move German units. Now, what I'm going to do in this scenario, because it is a second scenario now, we have to drive Poles all from their fixed positions. So from this hex and that hex. If at the beginning, at the end of the last day, any Polish unit remains in the fortifications, then Poles are victorious. This is probably not something that is going to happen, but maybe, who knows. Okay. Now, what I have here? My combat engineers, my tank, and my infantry battalion. Now, how many strength points they have? Because this is pretty important. There is a limit of 24 strength points on the hex. So, this battalion has 4. These tanks have 5, so it's 9. And combat engineers have 3, so it's 12. So it's 12, so we can get another 12 strength points on this hex. And I will write there with my tanks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so it's 7, so it's 19. And then I will write there with one more motorized battalion 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has 5, so it's exactly 24 strength points. I cannot move any single unit more on this hex because it would be overstacking. I mean, I can move more units, but only 24 strength points might be able to fight. I can have even 40 points on a single hex, but only 24 of them is allowed to fight. So it makes no sense to place more of them here. Maybe if I would need them, but not now. Okay, now my artillery. It might be pretty important. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Maybe here. And now, this infantry. As for normal road, I have to check if they spend 1 or a half of movement points. Now, this is a normal road, so they spend a half of movement points when moving down the road. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I will stay here. Yes, I will stay here. Now this now here. This battalion moves 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I will move one of my tank companies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because there is a secondary road, and I will move one more infantry battalion and one more tank company. The remaining units will be in my reserve. Alright, so that's that's how my movement went, and next we have Polish counterattack phase, but well, Poles are not going to counterattack anywhere, so we can go to the German combat phase. I will use my air force here, of course. So let's start with this battle. This is heavy machine gun unit, so all the infantry units have their strength halved. So 1, Now this reconnaissance unit has 4, so 5, and now these tanks 7, so it's 12, 4, 5, so it's 3, so it's 15, and 7, so it's 22. So we have 22. Oh no, we don't have 22. They are attacking from the marshes, and when they are attacking from the marshes, they have the strength halved as well. So it was 5, 9, 12, and 16. So we have 16 against 1. 16 against 1 is 10 to 1. Then we have 9 to 1 because of the fortification, 8 to 1 because of the town. So it's 8 to 1. Let's make a roll. It is 7. 7 and 8 to 1 is B2. So defender has to retreat 2 hexes. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. And 1, 2. And let's make a roll for the losses. Germans had 11, 15, minus 1 because of the fortification, minus 1 because of the town, and plus 1 because of the I forgot about it here, about the tank modifier. So it's 11, so it's 610 verse, and the roll is 4, 1 strength point loss for Poles. Okay, so now let's go here, and this is going to be the most important battle. We have 1. This heavy machine gun unit has 2, so it's 3. This platoon has 1, so it's 4. And this artillery support provides us 1, so it's 5. So we have 5. And now, Germans. 3, because of the machine gun. 3 because of attacking from the marsh, so it's 6, 3, so it's 9, 3, so it's 12, and 2, so it's 14. So we have 14, 14 plus 5 is 19, 19 plus 19 plus 5 is 24. 19 plus 24 plus 5 is 29. And then we have two more fours here. So it was 29 plus 8, so it's 37. So we have 37 against 5. 37 against 5 is 8 to 1. It is 8 to 1. 9 to 1 because of our combat engineers. And 10 to 1 because of our tank modifier. So it's 10 to 1. And then we have... Sorry, no tank modifier because of the fortification. So it's 9 to 1, 8 to 1, 7 to 1, 6 to 1 because of the fortification. And for the hill, it is minus 2. So it was once again 8 to 1, 7 to 1, 6 to 1 because of the fortification. 5 to 1, 4 to 1 because of the hill. So it's 4 to 1 and 5. It is B2. So defender has to retreat 2 hexes. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and Germans are able to capture this position. That's pretty good. Okay, and now time for losses check. Germans had 38, so it's 36-40. 1, 2, 3 because of the fortification, 1, 2 because of the hill, so it's 11-15. 4, 1 strength point for Poles. And now German losses. Poles had 5, so it's 4-5. 1, 2, 3 because of the fortification, 1, 2 because of the hill, so it's 26-30. And it is 4 as well. So Germans suffered 2 strength points loss. Alright, so that was German combat phase, and now we are moving into Polish movement phase. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I think that's all. Poles cannot do much here. So this concludes turn 1 of the day 1. No, I thought about German counterattack phase, but well, Germans have no options to perform any counterattacks, so nothing like that, so we can call it a day for the day 1. I guess you can already tell that artillery makes a difference. Now let's go to the second turn, and we are starting with air phase. Next we have a movement phase. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And they cannot enter here because it would allow, oh no, these combat engineers can. But they cannot because it would need them 2 more movement points, and they have only 5. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want, let me check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this artillery doesn't have to move, but they have to move. When motorized artillery moves, it has its strength reduced by 1, and when non-motorized artillery moves, it uses only half of its strength. And this one has 7 hexes range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, they are in the range. So that's all when it comes to the German movement phase, and we can go into the German combat phase. I have only one combat to resolve, actually. Of course, before we can go to the Polish counterattack phase, and now the question is if Poles want to move here and to counterattack these German combat engineers. No, I don't think so. These Poles are too weak. They would get negative modifier because of attacking up the hill. So it would give me nothing, and even more, they would left this fortification here, and this is our last fortification hex we have to defend till the end of the game. And when Germans will be able to capture this hex, then the game will be over. Okay, so that's all. Let's go and conclude and make this attack. Poles are in the clear terrain, so that's good for Germans. Now, what do we have here? Let me check. We have 2, 6, 11, 16, 23. Oh no, I forgot about heavy machine guns, my god. So again, 1, 5, 8, 11, 18, so 18 plus 5 is 23, 23 plus 6 is 29, 29 plus, sorry, no, they have 5, so it was 28, and 28 plus 5 is 33, 33 plus 6 is 20, sorry, it's 34, 39, and 39 plus 6 is 45. So I have 45 against 2, 3, 4, and 5 because of artillery support. So it's 8 to 1 again, 9 to 1 because of the combat engineers, 10 to 1 because of the tanks, so it's 10 to 1, and 9 to 1 because Poles are in the fortification. And this is clear terrain, so no column shift for terrain. It is 9 in the 9 to 1, it is B2. So Poles have to retreat 2 hexes, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and now Germans. German tanks are moving here and they are destroying this Polish headquarter because they can do it if they are entering the hex with a lone headquarter without any other units. These guys are moving here, they are here, and that's my movement after combat. And now we go into the losses. Germans had 43, so it's 41, 45, minus 1 because of the fortification, and plus 1 because of the tank modifier, so it's 41, 45 again. It is 7, so 3 points lost for Poles. Okay, and now Germans. Poles had 5, plus 1 because of the fortification and minus 1 because of the tank modifier. It is 10. 1 strength point loss for Germans. So you can see that Germans are suffering some losses, but they are making their way. This is most important here. Okay, now for Poles, what they are going to do, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, and I cannot enter here because there is an I can, but I would have to stay here, and this is enemy zone of control, so that's not something I'm going to do. And they will fortify themselves. Maybe not. Maybe they will remain here and fortify. These machine guns will join them, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Why I'm moving like this? Because if German units will enter this hex, they will have to fight with these units and these units. So it will be a bit harder for Germans. So this concludes day 2 of the battle. Sorry, not the day 2, but the turn 2. And we have turn 3, which is night turn. And the question is if I want to attack in this turn. Because if I would attack, then I would have a lot of negative modifiers. I wouldn't be able to use my artillery, my aircraft, my strength would be halved. So I'm not quite sure about it. All I need to do now is to drive Poles away of this hex, and I will be victorious. So no, I'm not going to attack. Instead, I will fortify my units here, so they don't have to attack when they are fortified. I will move my artillery closer, 1 hex, because you can move only 1 hex or 2 movement points. Now they will enter this hex, and this infantry battalion will enter here, and this is the end of the day 1 for Germans. And as for Poles, all I can do is to fortify this group here. So that's all for the day 1, and you can see that Poles are still holding their positions, but they are in the, well, quite problematic situation, because only this hex is needed for Germans to win the battle. We are in the 10th of September, so it's third and final day of the battle. Let's go to the German movement phase, sorry, first the air phase. I have to place my ground attack air force, and then now what I'm going to do here is maybe it will look crazy, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 1, 2, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, so I have to stay here, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Why I'm not moving here or there? Because I'm going to attack this Polish position from the north, and if I would be here or there, then Poles wouldn't be able to retreat, and I want them to retreat from this hex. So I have to leave them way out. This battalion goes here, and I think that's all when it comes to the Germans. Yes, that's all when it comes to the Germans, and my goal is to attack here with all my strength. Maybe I should move a 1 tank company, 1, 2, 3, 4 here, and I hope it will be enough to perform a combat. Okay, let's go and carry on this one last battle, because Poles are not going to counterattack anywhere, by all means. I should play some game when counterattacks make more sense someday. There are games when it makes much more sense, and you can slow down enemy advance or weaken enemy attacks with your counterattacks, but definitely not here. The difference between strength is too big. Okay, so we are going to have our first fire combat in this game. You can see that all these factors down below, the armored and artillery units, and they are used when when tanks are fighting against tanks and tanks are meeting enemy artillery unit. They are allowing to suffer more losses to the enemy. So let's check how it works. Now let's take this tank company. It has 7 strength points, so it is allowed to fire 3 times. Because you are firing every time for each 3 of your strength points. So we have 7, so we have 1 hit, one shot from 1 to 3, another shot for 4, 5, 6, and another shot for 7. So we have 3 shots against this artillery, which is not anti-tank artillery, always fires only once. So we have 3, and now we have our gun factor is 2 and 3. What it means when 3 is in the parentheses, it means that we are using 2 when we are fighting against tanks, and 3 when we are fighting against any other units. And this is other unit. So we are using 3, and enemy armor is 1. So we have 3 minus 1, so it's 2. And now they are in the woods. So we have minus 1. So it was 3 minus 1 is 2, and minus 1 is 0. So our fire combat range. Sorry, fire combat strength is 0. We are taking a table for that. We are checking a 0 verse, and we have to roll 5 or less to score a hit. And we are shooting 3 times. 1, it is 7, so it's nothing. 2, it is 8, so it's nothing. And it is 5, so we scored a hit. And we scored a hit on Polish guns, and Polish gun has only one strength point, so it is eliminated, but it can still fire before it was eliminated. So its gun factor is 1, 2 against non-tanks, and these are tanks, so we have 1. They have armor factor of 2, so it's 1, minus 2 is minus 1. So we are firing once with -1, so we need to roll 4 or less to score a hit. We get 8, so no hit, and these guns are eliminated. Okay, let's go and perform a combat. So our strength is 4, because we are attacking into the woods and tanks have their strength halved. 6, 10, and 5, it is 15, 20 because of the Air Force, 23 because they are attacking from the marsh, 33 because of the artillery, and 44 because of artillery. So we have 44 against 1 and 2. Now this is 10 to 1, and you may ask why I'm not using fortification modifier, because majority of my units is not attacking through the fortification hex line. If I would attack from these two hexes with most of my units, then I would have to include fortification modifier. But since I'm attacking from the north and there is no fortification here, then I might ignore it. So it's 10 to 1 and -1 because of the woods. So it's 9 to 1. It is 7. 9 to 1 and 7. It is B3. So Poles have to retreat 3 hexes. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And I am taking this hex. So let's calculate the losses. Germans had 43, so it's 41, 45, -1 because of the woods, so it's 36, 40. It is 8, so it's 3. Poles are suffering 3 points loss. So both of these units are gone. And now Germans. Poles had 2, +1 because of the woods, so it's 4, 5, 9, it is 1. So Germans have to suffer 1 strength point loss. Okay, so Germans managed to capture all the fortifications hexes, so they win the battle. As you can see, Germans are allowed to win this battle, but judging on my own experience, it happened when Germans weren't able. It was mostly when they were stopped here and they spent 2 days to breaking through this position. It was easier when artillery arrived, and then they had only 1 day to capture this position, which might be too sorry, I forgot about word. Might be not enough to capture all these hexes. So it is possible to win this battle with Poles, but not this time. This time Germans were victorious. As for losses, Germans lost no unit, Poles lost these 5 units, and for the strength points, Germans lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and Poles lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can see that Germans suffered some significant losses while trying to break through this position, just like in the history. So, thank you for watching and see you again.